Just a small little editor's note. Before I get into the video, I have a write-up in the description where I summarize and write down everything that I talk about in this video. I mentioned it kind of in passing, but I wanted to put a little bit more of a highlight on it. Feel free to check that out if you would like, and I hope you enjoy the video. Hey. So I try to keep track of what Darkest Dungeon 2 creators such as myself and everybody else that makes wonderful videos for this game, and see if there's any gaps that we as content creators aren't filling, um, as far as like certain stuff that should be made or certain guides. And I noticed that the lair bosses videos that are currently on YouTube are a little bit outdated. And while the boss hasn't maybe changed a ton, if at all, the game itself kind of has. So I kind of want to put my own spin on this and go through. I'm going to go through all the lair bosses and explain basically all the knowledge and all the strategy that you have to know in order to succeed with this. I'm going to start with the general because the general, I'm not going to say he's the easiest because I don't think it's true, but I think his gimmick is the easiest to play around because you can use combat items and it doesn't necessarily require certain hero abilities. So if you don't know who I am, I stream every day, twitch.tv/MarinerHawk. I have like 1,800 hours in this game at this point. So obviously I have a lot of experience against this guy. This video is going to be kind of for everybody. Even if you've only fought the general once or twice, or if you fought him a bunch of times and you're just struggling with him, I'm going to break down basically everything and tell you how to succeed, how to fail against him, and really just everything that you need to know. So first of all, I picked the unusual suspects, the very first heroes that you start with, just because this is like the base that anybody watching this is going to have. If you have other heroes unlocked and you have other skills unlocked, I'm going to talk about them also. But I think it's easy to, it's easiest to see with like the minimal amount of kind of tools in my arsenal, as you will. So to go alongside that, I'm going to use everybody's first 7. I'm going to pick up the first 7 skills. So it's the first 5 that you unlock plus the 2 shrines. Again, just to for anybody who's still pretty new to this game and may not have a lot unlocked, to be able to see how to succeed even with these particular abilities. So to go through the abilities that I'm using and the combat items that I'm using, I took off Rampart and I took off Hold the Line, and instead I put Bellow because it allows me to hit the taproot, which I'll get into, and Retribution just because it's always nice to have a taunt, be able to direct damage. The General does a lot of stress damage, a lot of damage in general, and a lot of bleed. So to go alongside that, I brought Bandages, just to avoid this fight kind of getting too out of hand. For the Highwayman, I switched out Tracking Shot and I used Point Blank Shot. I might use it, I might not. Either way, as long as you have Wicked Slice and Pistol Shot, you're pretty much good. I gave him the Mineral Ridge Spring Water to be able to deal with the stress a little bit more, a little bit easier, other than just bolster with Man-at-Arms. For the Grave Robber, she's using her original 5 skills, and I gave her Smelling Salts. Smelling Salts, although there are no dodges or there are no dazes or stuns in this fight, it's nice to be able to give somebody a dodge and bail yourself potentially out of a bad situation. And for the Plague Doctor, she's in the 4 ranks, so I switched off Incision, and I put Plague Grenade on, which is one of the like GOAT abilities for this fight. I gave her Linseed Oil Flask, not because of what it does. Doesn't matter what it does. What matters is that you can stack up to 4 to it. It's the only combat item that you can throw, and it stacks 4 of. So again, this is one of the GOAT combat items for this fight. Anything really that you can throw that hits either every rank, pretty much hits every rank. The most important things in these fight are to be anything that can hit rank 3 and rank 4, whether that be something like Bellow that can hit all 4 ranks, or something like Plague Grenade, or Blinding Gas, because it allows you to hit this back route right here, but it also allows you to do something to the boss at the same time. So really the gimmick with this boss is essentially it's going to do with he is a size 3, so he's going to be doing stuff, and then this taproot back here, although it's invulnerable, technically doesn't do anything. It does do certain marks that we'll see. I'm going to show you, I'm going to go through this fight and show you exactly what it's like to see somebody have a successful fight against it. So let's go with some of the successes and the failures of these fights. So successes, AoE abilities, like I mentioned, anything that hits rank 3 and rank 4. Abyssal Artillery with the Occultist, Acid Rain with the Flagellant are pretty much the best possible abilities that you can have, because again, it allows you to, more importantly in most situations, damage the boss at the same time that you're hitting that taproot. Guards are really nice because of the position marketing that I'll go over later, but it marks positions and it allows you to, with like the Man-at-Arms, it allows you to guard that position and make sure that your squishier heroes basically aren't getting absolutely destroyed. Weakens are huge because the amount of damage that the Waking Dead does, to be able to do, you know, if it does 20 damage on the Man-at-Arms, 20 damage to the Grave Robber, if that's a weaken, obviously it's a 10 and a 10. So weakens are very, very important the more damage that's being done. So weakens in this fights are very, very important. Certain combat items, like I said, with the linseed oil flask, you can do it with crow's feet. You can do it with thunderclap grenade. Anything that really hits chalk dust, anything that hits AOE. But linseed oil flask is the best preparation combat item wise that you can have coming into this fight because it allows you to hit that back route. Dot teams, obviously, as you can imagine, are very, very good because it gives you kind of a fifth hero that deals damage. This boss only gets, unlike the other bosses, only gets one turn around. So it may not melt it as hard as dots on some of the other bosses, but it still allows you to melt the boss in a similar way and make your life a lot easier. A comp that has stress heals in some sort of way. The more stress heal you can have in this, the better, because just the amount of stress that the general will cost. And then since he's technically Cadaver Hater and Cadaver Slayer are very, very good, especially Cadaver Slayer because it allows you to get through this death armor. I do have a write-up in the description that summarizes everything that I'm saying. So if you want to look at that, you're free to look at that. I have chapters in the video. You're free to use those. If you ever need to come back and need to learn anything, feel free to go to that write-up, and it'll tell you everything that you need to know, everything that I say in this video. So one note about this boss in particular is it's not only surviving this fight, but it's surviving afterwards. This fight is very much a fight of attrition. So you're going to be dealing with the high damage, the bleeds, and the stress. But if you leave, it's more likely with this boss than the other lair bosses that you're going to leave with like 8 stress and 20% health on everybody, right? So it's not always surviving this fight that's the win. You're going to have to put yourself in a position, ideally, to have this fight go so well that you survive the fights afterwards. In case you, get a collector right after this, or you get a, really tough fight in general. So that's one thing to keep an eye on, is you want to leave this fight as best as you can. That's not always something that you can do, but to do your best. Again, not only to survive this fight, but to survive the fights afterwards also. I want to talk about some failures. So some things or some comps that don't do well against this. Anything with high stress going in, because you're going to have a lot of meltdowns. You're going to have a lot of meltdowns really quick. You'll see as I get through this fight how much stress there actually is. It's going to get rough. If you have high stress going in, or obviously do not have ways to cure the stress very easily, that is going to be a problem. It very much is nice, although you can survive without it. It is nice to have a guard, whether it be through the Man-at-Arms, Crusader on Templar, or the Vestal. It is nice just to be able to direct damage a little bit. Taunt, for the same reason, is solid. Teams that cannot hit the 4 rank, if you cannot hit the 4 rank consistently and relatively seamlessly, you will very much get hurt by this fight. The good thing is not everybody has to be able to hit rank 4. It's really the long and short of this fight is you would like to have 2 people hit the actual general per turn and 2 people hit the root in the back, whether that be through combat items or through actual abilities. That's ideally how you would like to go. Not every single turn necessarily has to be like that, but ideally that's how you would like to be. So, if you have something like a Crusader in the front and then the Vestal in the front, neither of those 2 can hit the rank 4 with any of their abilities, which is fine as long as these people back here can. As long as whoever you have back here, whether you have a Cultist, Plague Doctor, as long as you have somebody that's able to do that, you're able to minimize the struggles that you have in this fight. Who are some good heroes in this fight? Deadeye, Grave Robber, because it allows you to Flashing Dagger, sits the 3 and 4. Just super, super nice. Sharp Shot with Highwayman. Grape Shot Blast hitting in 3 and 4. Very, very good. Plague Doctor, because she has both Blinding Gas and Plague Grenade. Occultist, like I said earlier, with Abyssal Artillery. Magellan with Acid Rain. Those are really the best for this fight. It never hurts to have a Man-at-Arms, obviously. It never hurts to have a Jester with Stress Heal to be able to keep things topped off a little bit. The nice thing about this fight is there are mostly every other boss has some sort of comp that really you're gonna really struggle against it. This one, not so much, as long as you have at least 1 or 2 heroes that's able to play this well. So if you guys want to look up any more about the general and just see the numbers and kind of look at it, the wiki.gg for Darkest Dungeon 2 is good. Do not look at the Fandom one. The Fandom one is, Fandom is not a good company. That is the one, when you Google Darkest Dungeon 2 wiki, it's the one that pops up first. Fandom is not a good company. The people that update the wiki do not update that wiki. They update the wiki.gg one, which is also in the description. So bookmark that if you're going to use this game, just because it's nice to know things, nice to look things up, etc. Helps you understand this boss a little bit more. So let's get into the fight. One important thing to know is that on round 1, do not hit the taproot back here. You do not want to hit the taproot. It's just a waste of time. The taproot does not do anything on turn 1. So what you want to do is do your preparations, whatever that means. I'm going to start, because Thrown Dagger, 3 to 6, Poison Dart 2 to 4, and then Pick to the Face 4 to 7, all do like roughly the same damage. I am going to get the Blight down and just kind of get that thing going. I'm going to use Retribution just because it's nice to have Taunt a little bit. The General does have only one ability that is not affected by... one ability other than the ones affected by the Taproot, which is Unsettling Whispers. So he's going to use Unsettling Whispers right here on the Man-at-Arms. Does some damage, adds some stress, allows me to post back a little bit, and it stresses everybody. Even if it misses, it stresses everybody. So as we get into this, so now you see this tier 2 on the Tangled Growth. So it's -2 speed, which is not super. It's not super bad because it's only on 2 people. The part that sucks about it is that if they get to the tier 3, they get strangled, and what that means is they lose their turn, and then they use Whispering Darkness, which is it uses up their turn, and it has a 75% chance of stressing everybody else, calculated individually. So the gimmick essentially on this fight is, give or take, you want to attack the root twice, whether that be through something like Plague Grenade that doesn't do damage, or Plague Grenade that does do damage, sorry, something like Blinding Gas that doesn't do damage, or something, or a combat item like the Linseed Oil that I explained. So I'm not going to do anything on her turn other than damage.
A slow dissection, an unavoidable end.
So I'm going to Plague Grenade, so you see it gives 1 token here, and then it takes 1 away, randomly selected from one of these heroes. It's going to use Unsettling Whispers again. So one thing I want you to note is when you hit the root, whether it be through whatever ability you hit, when you hit it, you see it reacts immediately, but when you hit it with combat items, it doesn't. So I'll show you that on next turn. When this gets 2 Taproot tokens, what it does is it marks 2 spots. So it marks 2 ranks, not necessarily, it doesn't rank the heroes, it ranks the ranks, or it marks the ranks, sorry. So you can move people around if you need to. If you're in a situation where you're extremely, 22 health Plague Doctor or whatever is about to take a hit, that's what guards are very, very good for. And also you can move her out of the position. If you have like a Vestal, for example, somebody that has a little higher base health, you can move them into that position. I know you lose a turn for it, which kind of sucks, but in a situation like that, the Waking Dead does a lot of damage and a lot of bleed, so it can really be an issue. I'm just going to attack the General with everybody here. We will have the Plague Doctor do the necessary damage. So you notice, like I said, when you use an ability on the root, it immediately will react, but when I use a combat item like the Oil Flask, it doesn't, because it's still your turn. So it waits until your turn is over, so that's something to keep in mind. So on 2 Taproot tokens, it marks these positions. On 3 Taproot tokens, the next Dreaming General's turn is the Waking Dead, which does a lot of damage. Keep in mind, the Waking Dead cannot be blinded, so do not try to blind it, because you'll do what I did when I first started and get frustrated that it always hits through blinds without knowing, because it doesn't, when you hover over it, it doesn't explain that. So this is why weakens are very important, to be able to weaken it, because you can weaken it, you can dodge it also, which is why I brought the Smelling Salts, but you cannot blind it. So keep in mind, you can blind Unsettling Whispers. It's other ability, but it's charge up ability like this, you can't. So because I hit it once with a combat item, once with Plague Grenade, it's going to take away both at once. And the Man-at-Arms, or the Highwayman and the Plague Doctor, are both going to take damage. She has a block plus, so I'm actually going to guard the Highwayman. She'll be okay. I'm going to guard the Highwayman, so the Waking Dead is going to hit the Plague Doctor, and then because of the guard, is going to hit the Man-at-Arms. So you see it did, what, 15 and 15? So something like if you have 22 health, Plague Doctor or something like that, it takes 15 damage. That's like most of her health. So what I'm going to do this turn is I'm only going to hit the Taproot once, because hopefully it will get the rank 3 on one of these 2, or the tier 3, and you'll be able to see exactly what it does. So I will use Bellow to hit the Taproot and hit the General. And then I will not hit the Taproot a second time, just to show you exactly what happens. You'll see, like, I haven't really done too much damage to him, but because of the dots, I really have. Like, I haven't done any, Wicked Slice is only doing 10 damage, or 4 damage or whatever, right? So he's done like 10 damage total.
What is it then? But
See a lot of stress right here. That's why the Spring Water's nice. That's why Bolster's nice. Jester's nice. Okay, so you see right now, so it's now got tier 3 on the Grave Robber. The Grave Robber loses her turn. So she uses Whispering Darkness that I said. It's a 75% rolled individually on each hero to add 1 stress to them. So you see why it can start to get out of hand very, very quickly. So I'm going to use Spring Water on him. I'm going to use Plague Doctor, hit it twice again. Keep in mind that when you hit the Taproot, it doesn't necessarily go for the tier 3 first. It goes based on random. So do not only hit it once and hope that it'll unstrangle one of your heroes. So you see it's going to put the Wake, or it's going to put the Stirring Soil here in a second. And then on the General's turn, it's going to immediately use it. So it gives me not a lot of time to react, but that is kind of my fault. I'm going to use the bandages just to heal her. And then I'm going to bolster her to give him the block mostly. Alright, well, you see the issue then there. If it double crits you, it will do 30 damage each, which is quite a bit. So she's gonna have to survive a Death's Door check. There's nothing you can do about that. So she's gonna go ahead and Linseed Oil 1, and then go ahead and heal yourself, homegirl. Damn. But you see just how fast this fight can get out of hand, and I haven't even really... Like, if I didn't have any way of dealing with the stress either, like, he's gonna have a meltdown right here. So it just gets super out of hand. And like I said, it's not always about surviving this fight. Sometimes it's surviving the fight afterwards also. And you see it was 8 over 5 turns, now it's 4 over 4 turns. That is a lot of bleed going on. Good crit, I guess, but you crit the Taproot there. That's invulnerable to everything. Let's see where the Stirring Soil goes. Okay. That is not so bad. I'm going to go ahead and give her this. Make her life a little bit easier. Do a little bit of damage. Keep in mind, I'm doing this without any trinkets, without any mastery points also. So this is very much like the most difficult situation that you could be put in. Still have the Linseed Oil, right? Yes, correct. So that makes my life a little easier. Let's go ahead and... How do we want to do this? Let's give him the Smelling Salts. Try to get him to dodge it. Again, you can dodge it. You can't blind it. I'm going to go ahead and do both hits with her. So we'll Linseed all that. Again, Plague Grenade it. Again, crit the root. I'm going to guard her just because it's a good idea in general. But most importantly, to give him the blocks here. Okay, fortunately, he dodged that. Makes my life easier. With the bandage and with the Plague Doctor, I can get this bleed off pretty easily. As you can see... you can also guard the Tangled Growth token. So if that's something that you want to do, you're inclined to do, it's more important really to block the actual damage itself, more so than it is kind of like this mark, but it's fine. So now we're at the point where I'm kind of out of combat items, as far as like the throwable combat items, so I do have to use somebody's turn, whether it be Bellow or whatever, to actually hit this back. You'd rather have combat items because it allows you to obviously still continue to do your move, but... You know, it doesn't always work out like that. Sometimes these fights are long enough. Maybe you don't even have any combat items coming in that you're able to do anything with. Just going to throw down its marks now. Always just keep an eye on it. Double, triple check if you have to make sure that at the end of your turn, whoever's going last, make sure you didn't screw up somewhere and there's not a 2... I'm going to use that bandage. Make sure that there's not a tier 2 anywhere. Anything in particular that I want to do? Again, I might as well bolster. As long as you have what you need, you can make this fight last a little bit longer if you have to. You don't necessarily have to DPS rush it or damage rush it or anything. You just have to make sure that you have what is necessary in order to succeed here. Okay, it's starting to get low. So that's nice, mostly because of the dots. Probably should have had her use her own Smelling Salts right there, but surely it'll be okay. Guard her again to give him the blocks. Actually, no, let's go for the damage. Hopefully this doesn't crit on the Grave Robber here. Okay, it didn't crit, but it did do her essentially the entirety of her health bar, so... I'm going to go ahead and heal her up, even though it means that I kind of lose 2 turns. So I have to hit the taproot.
At least has been tended to.
I'm going to save that smelling salts for whenever I need it last. Blight is going through pretty easily. Go ahead and bellow for the other one, just because Highwayman has more damage. Alright, I gotta think about how I'm gonna play that. I'm gonna go ahead and give him... Go ahead and give him that. It is not going to use the Waking Dead right now. He's gonna hit Death's Door. And even if when it does use it, he will be weakened. So at this point, usually you can pretty much just rush it and end it. You see in this situation where things could have very much gone poorly. If he didn't resolute, and obviously if Plague Doctor didn't survive that, how it could have gone poorly. But, you know, relatively, I was shown some things, but relatively, that went pretty okay. I mean, we're leaving this with a little... Health could be better, stress could be better, but for the most part, we at least survived it. And then obviously, hopefully, when you decide to fight the lair boss, you either have some mastery points going, or you have some solid trinkets that make your life a little bit easier. The combat items were definitely the best that I kind of had there because I put them in that situation. Again, the general is, I'm not going to say the easiest because that isn't the right word, but his gimmick is definitely the easiest to work around because you get a lot of benefit from having the right combat items or having the right abilities, you know, like the Acid Rains, Abyssal Artillery, Plague Grenade, right? If you guys have any issues whatsoever, you're always welcome to comment, and I will answer you back. Or you're welcome to stop by my stream and just say, hey, I watched your general video, he pissed me off, thanks, make my life a little easier. It's really just about, this fight's really just about preparing going in, or knowing your comp's strengths or weaknesses, and just paying attention during the fight. Paying attention to the taproot tokens, paying attention to strangle tokens, because if you make one mistake and lose, you know, the Grave Robber, if it's, say it's your healer, right? So the Plague Doctor loses her turn in a situation that you need to heal because you weren't quite paying attention enough to the strangle tokens. It happens to everybody, it makes sense, but as long as you pay attention, understand what your comp is good at and bad at as you go into this fight, it should go relatively smoothly, in the sense of you shouldn't have to worry about losing anybody. Obviously, the fight can be difficult, and you will leave in a not great situation, but you can get some really, really good trinkets from the Tangle and just from the general in general. No pun intended. Either way, I appreciate you watching. I hope you have a nice rest of your day. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to stop by my stream or post here, and I'll be able to help you out the best that I can. Again, use the wiki.gg wiki that is in the description, not the fandom one. I hope you have a nice rest of your day, and I'll see you another time. I will be doing one again for all these lair bosses to make your life a little bit easier. So, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Stop by my stream sometime. It's a lot of fun. Thank you.